Hey there, in today's video we're going over the 2022-2023 TMSCA General Math Test number 4, part 5. Let's do it. Alright, a shape is made of 8 isosceles triangles of equal size. Each isosceles triangle has a base of 6 inches and a height of 4 inches. What is the total area of the shape? Alright, so if there's 8 isosceles triangles of equal sides, that means the total area of the shape is just 8 times the area of one of the isosceles triangle. So all we have to do is find the area of one of those triangles. So we can do that easily because they've given us the base, which is 6, and they've given us the height, which is 4. So the formula to find the area of a triangle is 1/2 of base times height. Alright, so that's just 1/2 of 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. 1/2 of 24 is 12. Alright, so that's the area of one triangle. Now we can multiply it by 8 to get the area of the total shape. So that's 12 times 8, which is 96, and that's your answer. Next, 2 pens and 1 highlighter cost $3.90. 1 pen and 2 highlighters cost $4.20. How much would 5 highlighters cost? Alright, so we can say that the pens is P and the highlighters is H. So that means 2 of P plus 1 of H is equal to 3.9. And 1 of P plus 2 of H is equal to 4.2. Alright, so this is a system of equations. So we can solve this using the method of elimination. Alright, so we can multiply the bottom equation, which is 1p plus 2h, times 2. This becomes 2p plus 4h is equal to 8.4. And the reason we're multiplying the bottom equation instead of the top equation is if we multiply the top equation, we would cancel out the h's, meaning we would be solving for p. But we want to solve for h because it's asking how much would the 5 highlighters cost. So let's solve for h now. So now we can subtract the original equation from this new equation. So 2p plus 1h equals 3.9. We can subtract this. So when we solve this, we can cancel out the 2 p's, and 4h minus 1h becomes 3h, equal to 8.4 minus 3.9. That is 4.5. Alright, so now we know what 3h is equal to, but we need to know what h is equal to. So we can divide both sides of the equation by 3 to get h is equal to 1.5, because 4.5 divided by 3 is just 1.5. Alright, now we know how much 1 highlighter costs. Now we need to know how much 5 highlighters would cost. So all we do is we multiply this equation by 5. So this becomes 5h is equal to 7.5. And now you have to put it into dollars, which is $7.50. And that's your answer. Next, points A, B, and C are collinear with B between A and C. What is the value of x if AB is equal to 3x minus 2, BC is equal to 2x minus 1, and AC is equal to 32? Alright, so we can draw this out as a line because they say that these points are collinear. So we have A and C, and there's a line connecting them. Now on this line, we have the point B. Let's say the point B is over here. Alright, so what this means is this line, this entire line, is 32. And these two fragments, AB and BC, are equal to 3x minus 2 and 2x minus 1. Alright, that means we can add both of these fragments, which is 3x minus 2 and 2x minus 1, equal to 32 and solve for x. So 3x minus 2 plus 2x minus 1. Alright, so this is equal to 32 because we can see that in this diagram right here. So next we can solve for x by combining the like terms. So 3x plus 2x is 5x, and negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So we have 5x minus 3 is equal to 32. Now we can add 3 to both sides of the equation to make this 5x is equal to 35. Then we can divide both sides by 5 to get x equals 7, and that's your answer. Next, in the circle below, AD is equal to 66 and BC is equal to 156. What is the measure of angle AED? Alright, so let's first identify what angle AED is. Angle AED is this angle right here. Alright, so the way we would find this is we take the measure of this arc, AD, and the measure of this arc, BC, and find the average. So that way we find the average is we add 66 and 156 and divide it by 2 since we're adding two numbers. So 66 plus 156. Alright, so 66 plus 156 is 222. And now we can divide this by 2 to get 111, and that's your answer. Next, how many combinations can be formed from 12 items taken 10 at a time? Alright, so there is a formula for combinations, but first we need to identify what the factors are in this problem. So first, 12 items taken 10 at a time. So we can say that the 12 is n and the 10 is r. This is just to give them a variable. Now the formula for combinations is n factorial divided by r factorial times n minus r factorial. Alright, the way we solve for this is we put the values of n and r into this equation. So this becomes 12 factorial divided by 10 factorial times 12 minus 10, which is 2 factorial. Alright, so now we need to know what factorial means. So factorial is just when you multiply a number by every number before it. So we're given 12 factorial. So 12 factorial is just 12 times 11 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 all the way until 1. Just repeating this pattern. So now, how do we solve this? Because that's a lot of math to do. How do you solve this really quickly? Well, in this equation, 10 factorial is on the bottom. So that means every number from 10 to 1 is on the bottom as well. So you can just cancel them out. So this becomes 12 times 11 over 2 factorial. And the reason for this is, as we stated earlier, 10 factorial is 10 times every number before it until 1. And 12 factorial is 12 times every number before it until 1. But in the 12 factorial, 10 factorial already exists, so we can just cancel them out, and we just have 12 times 11. 12 times 11 is 132, and then we divide it by 2 factorial. 2 factorial is just 2 times 1, which is 2. So 132 divided by 2. That gets you 66, and that's your answer. Next, what is the area of the triangle with its vertices located at -6, 3, -3, 1, and 2, 5? Alright. So in this problem, the way you solve this is you do something called the shoestring technique. So first we need to write out our coordinates. So let's start with -6, 3. Next, -3, 1. Next, 2, 5. And to finish off the shoestring method, you need to write the first coordinate again, which is -6, 3. Alright, so how this works is you have two columns. You have the x and you have the y. So we're getting two numbers. First, we're getting a number that is multiplied, the first x and the second y, the second x and the third y, and the third x and the fourth y. And then we're getting a second number, which is the sum of the multiplied numbers of the first y and the second x, the second y and the third x, and the third y and the fourth x. Alright, so this is how this works. First, -6 and 1. That is -6. Alright, next. -3 times 5, that is -15. Next, 2 times 3, that is 6. Alright, so now we have to add all of these. -6 and 6 cancel each other out, so it's just -15. Alright, next. Now we do the opposite, we go the other way. So 3 times -3. 3 times -3 is -9. Next, 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Next, 5 times -6. 5 times -6 is -30. Alright, so -9 plus 2 is -7. And -30 minus 7 is -37. Alright, these are our two numbers. Now, you have to take the number we got first, which is, so let's say this is num1 or n1, and this is n2. So the formula to find the area is n1 minus n2 divided by 2. Alright, so that's just negative 15 minus negative 37 divided by 2. Alright, so negative 15 minus negative 37 is negative 15 plus 37, which is 22. And now 22 divided by 2 is 11, and that's your answer. Next, what is the sum of the roots of the quadratic equation negative 12 is equal to 4x squared plus 18 minus 2x? Alright, so first we need to bring this to its proper form. So negative 12 is equal to 4x squared plus 18 minus 2x. This is not a proper quadratic equation yet because we have to bring all the terms onto one side and rearrange it in order of the highest power to the least power. So first we can add 12 to both sides to make this number 30. So now it becomes 4x squared, and now you do minus 2x first because you always do the highest power to the least power, plus 30. So this is your new quadratic equation. Alright, so now the formula to find the sum of the roots is negative b over a. Alright, so our a value is the coefficient of the first term. So in this case, 4 is our a. Next, our b value is the coefficient of the second term. So in this case, negative 2. And in case you were wondering, the c value is the third term, or the whole number. Alright, so now we have the a and the b. So we can substitute it into this equation, which makes it negative of negative 2 over 4. Negative of negative 2 is positive 2, and 2 divided by 4 is just 1/2. And that's your answer. Next, simplify 6 over the root of 6 by rationalizing the denominator. Alright, so we have 6 over the root of 6. So the way we would solve this is we have to cancel out the denominator. So we do this by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the root of 6. So when you multiply the root of the same number by the root of the same number, what happens is the square roots cancel out and it just becomes that number inside the square root. So this becomes 6 on the bottom and then 6 times the square root of 6 on the top. Now you have the 6 and 6 on the bottom, so you can cancel them out and it just becomes the square root of 6, and that's your answer. Next, what is the inverse function of the function f of x is equal to 3x minus 7? Alright, so the first thing in this problem is they confuse you by using the word f of x. That really just stands for the y. So y is equal to 3x minus 7. Alright, the way you solve for the inverse function is you switch the positions of x and y. So this equation now becomes x is equal to 3y minus 7. Now what you have to do is you have to solve for the y value. You want to bring the y value back to this position over here. So the first step in doing that is you have to add 7 to both sides. So this becomes x plus 7 is equal to 3y. Now we have y by itself, but it has a coefficient of 3. We want it to have a coefficient of 1. So we can divide both sides by 3 to get y is equal to x plus 7 divided by 3. And that's your answer. Next, the square root of 5 plus 4 times the square root of 80 plus the square root of 20 equals what? Alright, so we have the square root of 5 plus 4 times the square root of 80 plus the square root of 20. Okay, so the way we solve this problem is we first want to simplify the numbers inside the parentheses to make them so that they have the same square root inside. Now you're probably thinking that's impossible. Well, it is possible because when you have a square root of a non-perfect square, so in this example 80, you can break it up into two numbers, at least one is a perfect square. So for example, the square root of 80 can be written as the square root of 16 times 5. The square root of 16 is actually 4, so you can bring it outside the square root and it becomes 4 times the square root of 5. And we can do the same thing for the square root of 20. The square root of 20 can be written as the square root of 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2, so you can bring it outside and it becomes 2 times the square root of 5. So now you can add those up to get 6 times the square root of 5. Alright, now this is multiplied by 4 and you're adding a square root of 5 to it. So 4 times the 6 times the square root of 5 is just 24 times the square root of 5. And finally, you're adding the square root of 5, which makes it 25 square root of 5. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.